Hey guys, what's up? So today I wanted to talk about why I like Lee Haney's training split. I don't know if there's another name for it, so I just call it a Lee Haney split. Kind of like how, a lot of people will call the Arnold split just the Arnold split. So if there is another name for it and I don't know what it is, please let me know. But first, quick little home gym update. You can probably see I've got some plates back there. Don't have a barbell yet. That's on the way. I'm also having an incredibly frustrating time finding a decent rack, like a rack that's not just a piece of trash. But I'm going to save that rant for hopefully when I actually have something. Anyway, Lee Haney's split. First off, what is it? This is not something that I really see hardly ever. I only found out about it from watching Lee Haney's videos, or rather interviews with Lee Haney, where he talks about it. So it's an interesting split because the way that he runs it, it's actually an 8-day split. You could run it as a 6-day split, but he does it and he recommends doing it as an 8-day split. Basically, day 1, you hit chest and arms. Day 2, you hit legs. Day 3 is back and shoulders. Day 4 is off. It's a rest day, and then you repeat. So it's an 8-day split. It's also an asynchronous split. So your weeks are not gonna line up like they would on other splits. So like every Monday, you're not gonna be training the same thing every Monday, for example. Another interesting thing about the way that he runs it is he trains calves and abs every training day. And his reasoning for that, especially with calves, is that he says that, these are very stubborn muscle groups. And in particular, your calves, you've been walking on them since the first day you could walk. So of course they're going to be very stubborn and you're going to need to put in a lot of work. So he recommends training those every training day. Now, of course, if you don't particularly care about calves or abs or both, you don't have to do that, but that's I'm talking about his split, so I figured I should throw that in there. And real quick, who do I think should run this kind of split? Probably not beginners. I don't think it's going to be too difficult on its own for beginners, but I usually recommend that beginners start with a split that has them training fewer days per week while they build up the habit of going to the gym. Because if a beginner just jumps straight into a 5+ day split, they're probably not going to have built up the habit and the passion and the drive for lifting weights to actually stick to it. I think that's going to burn them out too quickly. But once you've been training for like a year or two, yeah, go for if you want to, go for like a 5-day, a 6-day split, or if you want to do an asynchronous split, go for something like this, an 8-day split. So reasons why I like it. First of all, I really like the way that the muscle groups are paired together. I mean, starting off with chest and arms, absolutely love this pairing. This is basically the ultimate bro day. You hit your chest and then you hit arms. I mean, who doesn't love hitting chest? Who doesn't love hitting arms? Throwing them together, I absolutely love that. That's just such a fun day for me. Now, some people might complain a bit about, if you train your chest and then, your arms are hitting triceps after chest, your triceps are going to be fatigued. In my experience, that's not really that big a deal, pairing chest and triceps together. What is a big deal for me is pairing chest and shoulders together. This is one of the reasons why I don't like, for example, an upper-lower split or a push-pull legs. Because for me, if I hit chest first, I cannot lift as much weight on my shoulder exercises, and my shoulders tend to stall out. If I do it the other way around, I get the opposite problem. And I know that a lot of people, I've even talked about this in the past, will say, well then, if you're doing twice a week frequency, have a day where you do chest first and have a day where you do shoulders first. that works for a lot of people. For me, it's just really annoying to track. Because let's say the first day I do chest first. Okay, well then the second day I'm going to be lifting less weight on my chest exercises because I've hit shoulders first. And I'm also going to be pushing more weight on shoulders than on the second day than I was pushing on the first day. I just don't want to bother tracking that, so I prefer to have chest and shoulders separated, but I don't find anywhere near as much interference between chest and triceps. Second reason, I actually like having legs in the middle. Most splits will have you training legs as the last day of the split. Like, a lot of people don't like training legs, so it kind of makes sense to like put it off as like the last thing that you train. Having it in the middle is kind of nice because what I find is that if my last day of the week is legs, I'm kind of dreading that day and it's the last day. And so it's that just not all of the time, but sometimes it just sort of saps my motivation a little bit. Not to the point that I won't do it, but I need to sort of hype myself up for it. Whereas having legs in the middle, it kind of helps because after legs, I have back and shoulders day. I like training back, I like training shoulders. So it's like, okay, you had this awesome bro day first, and so then you got to get to your back and shoulder training, but before you do that, you got to train legs. So then that back and shoulder day kind of feels, I'm a little bit more excited for that last training day. But to be honest, one of the biggest reasons, maybe the biggest reason why I love it is the fact that it is an 8-day asynchronous split. I've never tried an asynchronous split before until I tried the Lee Haney split. It's phenomenal. It's really great. I've done 6-day splits before. I like 6-day splits, but it's like anybody who's done 6-day splits knows that like by the time you get to the end of it, it can be pretty demanding. And then you've only got that one day off. And then you have to do it again for 6 days. So training for 3 days and then taking one day off, you get extra rest time. And you get a nice little break before you have to hit all of your muscle groups again. So that added rest time is just so nice. And I find that it really, really helps with my energy and my motivation. I think this also kind of helps bridge a gap between some of the more high frequency splits and something like a bro split. Because like one of my issues with more high frequency split, the strictly twice a week training frequency, if it's a 6-day split, I feel like I'm not, like, yeah, you get a lot of rest in between muscle groups. Like, if you're doing like an Arnold split, for example, yeah, you have like 72 hours in between hitting chest, for example. But you're still working out 6 days a week, and that can be draining. If you're doing something like an upper-lower split, for me, I don't like the number of rest days that has. I know that it's beneficial, but I like training so much that like I get a little bit bored having, like 3 rest days with like an upper lower, or if I hit full body, like 4 rest days, I just get kind of annoyed. But then with the bro split, you got 7 days in between each muscle group. So that's like a ton of time for each muscle to recover, which is fine if you can push it hard enough and get in enough volume. And then you've got 2 complete days off. I'm also fine with that. But having such a long period in between hitting each muscle group, what I found when I've run bro splits is that also kind of annoys me. Like I hit a muscle group, and then by about the 4th or 5th day, I'm just like really itching to go hit it again. So a Lee Haney split, I think, solves that perfectly. It's like, well, at least perfectly for me. It's a really nice bridge between those 2 different kinds of splits. 3 days on, 1 day off. So you're hitting each muscle group every 4 days. So you have that extra rest time, but you still have frequency. So it works out, depending on where you are in the rotation, it works out to 1.5 to 2 times frequency a week for each muscle group. And I'm just really, really loving that. I've been running this split for the past few months, and it's definitely become my favorite split. There are some things I want to try with some other splits. There are even a couple that I want to revisit, but I also just don't want to stop doing this split. At least for now, I found a split that I just don't want to stop doing, and I don't see myself doing a different split for the foreseeable future. Like maybe that'll change, but at the very least, like I am so happy with this. I love that there's enough time between muscle groups that I could just absolutely hammer them hard and still get in good frequency and still getting enough rest time that I'm like totally recovered. In the grand scheme of things, does this really matter? Because I've said before, when all other factors are equated, training splits don't really matter. They all produce similar results when everything else is equated. So it's all down to your schedule and preference. So is it really that important? Not really, but it's another tool in the bag. It's something else that you can consider, that you can use, that you can try out. And if you enjoy it, then, that's awesome. Not everybody's going to have the time to run it asynchronously, 3 days on, 1 day off. Also, not everybody's going to want to hit calves and abs that often. You don't have to. Like I'm not hitting calves every day or abs. I did build up my abs hitting them every training day, but at this point, I have them to a point where I'm pretty happy with them. So I'm just hitting them. I just throw them on the end of the chest and arms day. But you can play around with it a little bit. And like I said, it's just one more tool at your disposal. Plus, it's a split that's just not talked about that often. And so, I don't know, that just makes it interesting to me. So that'll about do it. Let me know what you guys think of this split. Do you think it's interesting? Have you ever tried it? And have you heard of or tried any kind of training split that's like less common or that people don't really talk about? Let me know. And if you're still watching, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it as always. And have a good one.